So yeah, it's Sunday. We're on day 3 of our trip. We're heading back tomorrow. And yeah, so far the Rockford Charity Group's been amazing. As far as action, you know, there are some players that I've been seeing that are the same, but then there's some good mixes in there. But yeah, it's a really good group, really good game. This morning I'm going to try out Rivers. I've tried out Rivers before. They don't allow me to record, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully we can have a good morning session. I mean, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. Anytime I'm on a poker trip, I like to grind 12, 16, 18 hours a day. Yesterday I grinded 12 hours. So yeah, today, because Rockford Charity Group doesn't start until 12:30, and it's 8 o'clock, I think I'm going to go play for like 4 or 5 hours. The PLO does get it going in here in the afternoon, like I guess around 3, 4 o'clock. But again, if you're like at Rivers and there's 20 people waiting, come over to the Rockford Charity Group. This week, this location, we're 2 minutes from Rivers, maybe 7 minutes from Rivers. But yeah, I think if I was in the Chicago area, anywhere, I hate waiting. All poker players hate waiting. You know, what are you guys doing? Watching videos instead? You know, checking Instagram? I get it. So hopefully we can have a good session this morning. You know, it sucks on day one when you lose $3,000, and day two you win 1,500 of it back, which is good. But like day three, you're like, wow, I hope I break even for the trip. And that's not even breaking even because you got to factor in hotel, food, travel. So yeah, my goal right now for this, hopefully I can get to Rivers and bank like $1,500. But that's about it, everybody. The life of a grinder. It can be a very lonely profession. It's difficult to spend time away from loved ones. So, but play smart, everybody. Run like a god. You know, one thing I'll tell you, here at Rivers, the chairs are super comfortable. People are, for the most part, polite, but $11 every half hour has to be one of the highest rakes for a 5-5 PLO game. And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, $11 every half hour, that means you're paying $22 an hour to play, which means if you play at Rivers 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, you're literally paying the casino $4,500 a year to do your profession. And just to give you an idea, that averages out to, whether you're in a pot or not, to about $1 a hand. We were six-handed. Of course, if the dealers are faster, that has an impact on it. But we were six-handed, and the dealer got out 10 hands in a half an hour push. And that's a problem. I mean, like 10 hands and six, when you're six-handed in a half an hour. And then when you're nine-handed, they're probably getting out 10, maybe 15 hands if they're really fast. So the amount of rake that they take per hand averages out to be like about $8 per pot. So it's pretty significant. And the difference between $8 per pot and like $5 or $6 per pot, I mean, $3 per pot, you know, if you end up winning 10 pots a day, that's, you know, $30 a day, $900 a month, ends up being close to $10,000 a year. But I was in for $350, and that's because I won $150 playing slots. So I was in for $350, and ended up being out overall for $1,865. So we actually won $1,515 today, this morning session, and we are now officially unstuck for the trip. And so now our whole trip relies on one last session, which is going to be a long one at the Rockford Charity Group. Again, meetup game January 5th and 6th, Rockford Charity Group at Mission Hills Country Club. Donkfish and myself are going to be there. It's going to be a 125 PLO with a $500 max buy-in. We're going to set up one table where it's just all Omaha high, and then we're going to have another table, or, you know, 2 tables of each or whatever, where the other one is going to be 125 max buy-in, 500, a round of 4-card Omaha high, and then a round of 5-card Omaha high low. So all of you who want to play some Big O with the Professor and Donkfish, this is an excellent opportunity for you guys to do it. Hopefully we can establish some kind of weekly game there, because when I talked to them, they talked about us coming down like maybe once a quarter, which I think is great. So as always, everybody, play smart, run like a god. is actually going to be the smallest pot of this entire vlog, even though it is net effective over 2,000. My effective stack starting is $315. So it's a $10 double board bomb pot. So I've got 305 behind. I've got Queen 9 10 10 with 2 diamonds, and on the top board we flop a complete wrap with a flush draw, and on the bottom board we flop a set of 10s. So this board is super draw heavy, super juicy. I lead out for pot, which is 90. Next guy makes it 340. Next guy goes all in. Next guy goes all in. I only have 305 effective of it, so of course I'm going to call. On the top, I'm loving everything. I mean, I've got a complete wrap. I do have diamonds. I'm worried that my diamonds aren't high enough, of course. And on the bottom board, I do have a set as well as a gutter ball straight draw. Now, I announced to the whole table that I'm going to scoop now that all the action's done. But yeah, 4 ways all in, so the pot overall is probably around $3,000. Kind of kicking myself because I like to buy in bullets of 1,000 and whatnot. So here I am. I'm just down to my last $300. Had I chipped up, this would have been a much bigger pot. But in any case, we are where we are. Set of 10s on the bottom, complete wrap on the top with a diamond draw. And this is one of those reasons why sometimes you're just better off getting it all in on the turn in double board bomb pots versus on the flop. Because if you have a set of jacks here on both boards, you know that some of your outs are gone on the bottom board because there's a jack up top. And then the top board is just so draw heavy going against 3 opponents. But yeah, the turn comes the ace of diamonds, king of clubs on the bottom, and then the river, 7 of spades on the top, 9 of spades on the second board. So we have the nuts straight on the second board, and we have diamonds. And when the players show their hands, one guy who was all in had a set of 8s, and he's only going to get a portion of the side pot. He's going to get half of the side pot because the other 2 guys both had queen king. And so obviously with them having queen king, they had nothing on the other board. And in this situation, we're actually going to get half of the whole pot plus a third of the bottom pot because we all end up having the same straight. So we end up netting about 560 in this pot. So here's a really interesting hand here. I looked down at ace king 10-8. Keep in mind, we're playing double board bomb pots, $10 double board bomb pots, and then we were doing a round of no limit hold'em 2-5. And most of the time it was straddled to 10. Sometimes it was straddled to 20. But I'm letting you know this because we ended up having 3 players on the table that were Hold'em players. One we actually had to explain the rules of Pot Limit Omaha to. The other 2 you could tell were way more comfortable on playing Hold'em than PLO. So just about every time the board came out, the guy that was a Hold'em player that we had to explain PLO to would always bet pot. But in this situation, I check, guy behind me bets pot. On the top board, we have 5-3-8. On the bottom board, we have ace, king, queen. So we really don't have much going on the top board. I mean, we have a pair of 8s, that's it. On the bottom board, we do have top 2 pair. Now, there's a straight out there. The other thing I want to mention real quick, you won't see the denominations as far as what suits they are, just because there are so many double board bomb pots that just to make things a little bit cleaner for the video, I eliminated that. So for my colorblind viewers, I apologize, but I will specify when the suits make a dramatic difference. But on the top, there are 2 clubs out there. We just have 2 spades in our hand. That's the only thing that we have. But yeah, when the guy bets pot for 90, and he was pretty consistent, we end up getting quite a few callers. We go 5 ways to the turn. And my thought process here was something can happen on the top board. On the bottom board, if it pairs an ace or a king, I'm going to love it. On the top board, we get the 10 of spades, so we actually have top 2 pair here. And on the bottom board, we have top 2 pair. Now, the bottom board is like super wet. There's 2 hearts, 2 diamonds out there. Obviously, a straight is out there. And this is when a double board bomb pot just goes from like normal, almost normal, to just bonkers crazy. You're about to see bonkers crazy here because right now there's only $540 in the pot. I was first to act. I decided to check my equity. Obviously, a straight on the bottom board is beating us. It's going to be hard for somebody to fold like King X of hearts. And it's going to be hard for somebody to fold Ace X of diamonds. But I have the Ace of diamonds. So even Queen X of diamonds is hard to fold. because you have so much equity on the bottom board. So the first player, who again was the Hold'em player, just all in for $495. Now the next guy decides to call, and the gentleman across the table from me is deciding on what to do. And at this point, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. So the next person calls. Now I'm sitting there. I have like 700 and some odd dollars. I actually go in the tank here. My thought process is I'm not going to call here. I'm either going to jam or I'm going to muck. So the guy to my right ends up folding for $500. And I'm trying to think, I mean, top two pair here on the top board should be good. Top two pair on the bottom board might actually be good. Plus, I have the 10, so I do have a gutter ball straight. So any jack on the bottom board, I'm going to get half. And I got top two pair on the top board. I don't have any flush draws, so you know what? I'm just going to rip it. I say, what the hell? Let's just get it all in. 700 and some odd dollars. I think it's like 740 or 735. But yeah, I'm at this point. I know that the people who put in 500 are not going to fold for another $230. So I'm like, you know what? I'm either going to like win half somewhere, somehow, or I'm going to get completely scooped. Obviously, I'm worried about straight draws on the top board. I'm worried about flush draws. If somebody had clubs or 6, 7, 9, they're still not going anywhere. But if they have 6, 7, 9, they're only drawing to one board, really, because the bottom board is just dead. But when you have this much action, you can justify calling just to draw one board. Because, I mean, look, it's $700 to call, and we've got a $4,000 pot. I mean, you're calling $700 to win $2,000. So even though you might only be drawing to half the board, you're still getting 3-1 on your money, which is just crazy. Now, this is the part that I love about double board bomb pots, is it can literally go from normal to absolutely crazy. Now, even though we have essentially 3 people all in for $800 or $735 and a huge pot, there's still 2 guys that have chips left. So there's still 2 guys that have effectively $520 left. So I'm like, good Lord. Kind of curious why the guy who flat called the $795 didn't just rip in the extra $520. Because now at this point you got to think, regardless of what the river comes, can you really fold for $520 when you could be winning half of basically a $5,000 pot? Because if you add the 2 520s together, yeah, it'll be a $5,000 pot. So even if you're going to get half, you're still getting 5-1 on your money. So in this particular situation, the river comes out a queen of clubs, and so there's clubs on the top board, and then the river on the bottom board comes a 7 of hearts. I wasn't looking at the board. I looked at the guy to my right, and I said, I'm just going to decide based on your facial reaction if I am scooping, if I'm going to win, or if I'm getting scooped. And when the boards came out, his face completely changed. And I said, that's either amazing for me or absolutely terrible. So the last 2 get it all in for $520. I turn around and I look. I see that the gentleman to my right is clearly, he's like, wow, both flushes got there. And I'm like, oh, this cannot be good. There's no way I'm going to get half of this board. But then again, you just never know when it comes to double board PLO bomb pots. So the first 2 guys that had the side pot for $520, they're going to end up turning their hands over. One guy ends up having hearts. I think they actually were both drawing to hearts. And one of them ends up getting the top, one of them ends up getting the bottom. So they end up just chopping basically the $1,040 side pot. But when it comes to the main pot, I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, well, obviously, you know, with them showing hearts, I'm like, okay, I'm no good on the bottom board. I'm not even going to worry about that. But they both show hearts, and I'm like, okay, maybe clubs isn't there. The guy to my right actually folded a club draw for $495, and I don't know if it was the right fold to make. I mean, he did have 2 people behind that hadn't put the money in. I'm sure if he was last to act, he probably would have called. But, once I find out what all the hands are, I reveal my hand, and I'm like, I've got 10s over 8s. I know I'm getting at least half of this pot over here, and now I find out I'm getting half of everything. 10s over 8s is the winner. No one had clubs. I'm like, wow, this is like found money. So we end up netting on this hand alone plus $11.55. So we started the stack with like $835. Now we're going to have $2,000 in front of us, and we're having a good time. So let's play poker. So we're picking this hand up midway through. We've already got a flop out there. We look down at 5-9, 10-3 with the 10-3 of diamonds. And this is a pretty bad hand, but the first gentleman that's first to act in the small blind is the driver on this particular hand, at least to this point. So he leads out for $30. So the pot is starting to build. There's $270 in the pot. And on the top board here, we actually have, and the dealer accidentally mucks the deck, but he picks it up. But on the top board here, we've got queens, queen, queen, 8, 9. And then on the bottom board, I have the stone cold nuts. So on the top board, there's queen, queen, 8, 9. On the bottom board, we have 3, jack, queen, 8. And so we're sitting here. The board is very sharing a lot of its own cards. And when I see that there's a pair of queens up top, and I have a 9-10, I actually think that there's a lot of cases where my 9 is going to be good with a 10 kicker, because the fact that there's 2 queens on the top board and 1 queen on the bottom board makes it really unlikely that my opponent has a queen. And so when the first player leads out for $75, people start folding, and at this point I'm thinking I have the nuts on the bottom board, and I have a 9 on the top board, so I'm going to pot it. I'm going to apply maximum pressure here. Now, I will tell you, one of the worst parts about being a vlogger is when you see a move that you make that you know will be good 8 or 9 out of 10 times, and you find out that this is one of those 10 times where it's not good. So when I pot, it gets back to the guy, and he just rips it all in. And now at this point, I'm thinking, oh boy, now I know for a fact he either has 9-10, in which case I could be getting quartered, because if he's got like 9-10 jack, he's getting the top half board, even though there's 2 queens out there. Or he has something like queen 8, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, something to that effect. And at this point, I'm making the decision, how much money do I have left? And if I do get quartered, I've got about, $700 left. Or is he just applying max pressure with a hand like queen 9 or queen 8? And, so, you know what? I decide, let's go ahead and call. And the guy announces he is completely free-rolling me. And I'm like, oh, no. And when the river comes a black 5 on the top and a jack on the bottom, he just simply announces, I have it all. He goes, I have it all. I'm like, you have it all? I'm like, how did the jack on the bottom board help you? And he turns over queen, jack, 8. Literally, he does. He's got the whole thing. Complete free roll on his part. So we make a misstep here. We end up losing a $3,000 pot, and we reload. Oh, I'm going to try something new with this hand. I haven't done any of the graphic editing, so except for the hero, apparently. 3-3-8 queen. So we have pocket 3s. This is a double board bomb pot. Looks like I have a big black stack of chips there. That means I just rebought because I don't have any red, any green. So I'm not quite on tilt, but apparently we're picking this up on 4th Street. On the top board, we have a set of 3s. And on the bottom board, look at this. There's 8s down there. We have an 8 in our hand. There's spades everywhere. But because we have an 8 in our hand and there's 2 8s down below on the bottom board, that means like it's really unlikely that your opponent will have a set on the top, or not a set, a straight on the top board, because that would be, basically the nuts right now. So when the guy bets 150 and it gets to me, I'm just going to be like, yeah, let's bet pot, baby. And because that's literally my gin card. I mean, I had really queen high flush, which is a bad flush, and double board bomb pots on the top board before that. But like now that I have a set of 3s, I should definitely have the best hand up top. I'm like, booyah, baby. And down below, look, I'm blocking 8s full of anything right now. So I'm like, oh my God, I love this. Even though I just got those chips, like they're hot off the press. The host or the security guy came by, dropped them off. And, even though I just got them, I was like, yeah, let's get it all in here, baby. That's what we want to do. So yeah, when I potted, the guy behind me is like at the tank, and I'm loving life, at this point, because again, somebody with the way this betting has gone, if they're short stack, even if they have like a club draw, they'll probably call. Say they have a worse spade draw, they'll probably call. Maybe if they have a better spade draw, they'll probably call.
But even if they have like top 2 pair, they're probably thinking they're good a lot of the times. Like the 3 really doesn't change anything besides bringing a club draw. So if you're short stack here, I could see calling with a wide variety of hands. So the first guy calls for less, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm kind of excited. Now this guy across the table from me, he has a decent chunk behind. He's probably like 800 effective or so. So when I potted it 800 behind the 150, he's not exactly short stack, not like the guy to the right of him who's only got like $300 or so. So he's got a little bit of a bigger decision to make because he's sitting there going, do I want to call like 700-800 to possibly split 1,000? This is when pressure really starts to build on people, because they also don't know which board you're potting it with. Like, are you doing it with the bottom board or are you doing it with the top board? If you have a spade draw here, keep in mind, there's 2 spades on the top, 2 spades on the bottom. You're only going to get a spade 15% of the time. So, even if you add them together, that's only 30% total, and you'd have to call $800 to win, maybe 1,000. So this guy makes the right laydown. No matter what his draw is, you can see he pushed his cards forward already, even though he's kind of regretting it. But the other guy, you can understand why he called. So everybody in this hand pretty much played the way they were supposed to so far. This is like perfect poker. Everybody's getting the right equity. Everybody's getting the right odds. Even though, it's a big pot and you're 4-way action, sometimes you can be on the other end of this playing appropriately and walk away broke. I mean, that does happen. Or you can play it appropriately and win a little bit of money. So, yeah, we figure out one guy's got 450. And then I owe another like 355 behind. So the total pot we're playing for is about $2,300 plus another $700 pot as a side pot. So the total pot's basically about $3,000. But yeah, I'm like, oh, that was my gin card up top. So when the top comes a 6 of clubs, I'm like, uh-oh. And then the river comes on the bottom of 4. I'm thinking I'm way good on the bottom. I'm like, oh, I got 8 queen, and I still have a set of 3s. And the guy to my right says to me that he was on a spade draw, but the guy down below actually had 8 deuce. So he had 8s full is what I end up chopping the bottom board with. And on my hand, I've got, 3 3s, which actually ends up being good. So yeah, we end up netting about $655 on this one. So that's not too shabby, especially when I just rebought. So these double board bomb pots can be really, really juicy with the right crowd, and this was definitely the right crowd. All right, so we are picking this up on the turn. So ace deuce 7-9. This was the flop bet, was $90. Again, we had this guy who it was his first time playing Omaha, and we're playing double board bomb pots. So whenever he would bet, he would just flop something. He would always bet the pot, which was $90, which was great because it meant the pots were pretty juicy. But on 4th Street, so just so you know, I had a pair of deuces up top and a heart draw, the nut heart draw with a pair of aces down below. And on the turn, a deuce comes on the top, and on the bottom, no heart comes. So now we have 3 deuces up top. We still have the nut heart draw with a pair of aces. So we bet $250 here. Now this is actually a value bet. I think there's already like $500 in there, so I'm betting like half pot. And the reason why is because I have so much equity in this hand. I mean, 3 deuces up top is really, really good when no one has shown any aggression, which means no one else should have a deuce and no one's got full house on top. And down below, I still have a pair of aces with the nut heart. So when I get a couple callers, I get really excited. Now, the river puts a queen up top, does not change anything. There's no straights out there. And the river on the bottom puts a jack down below. So really, I miss my hearts, but I still have a pair of aces. So I bet pot again, which is now $860. And, yeah, so it's one of those things where I'm loving the river. This guy makes the call. He makes the call, and I show him, I'm like, I've got trip deuces up top, and I have ace-9 down below. And I give him the bad news, and he pushes his cards in, and he says, nice hand, and he double checks. I don't mind that. People double checking, that's perfectly fine. And we end up scooping this one, a nice size pot here. So this particular hand here, I remember vividly because it's ace, jack, jack, 6, double suited. Ace, jack of hearts, jack, 6 of spades. I remember this hand vividly because I had another opportunity earlier in the night to do the exact same thing with somebody, and I didn't take it, and I probably could have won another 1,500 if I did. But in any case, on this flop, we have deuce 3, deuce 9 up top. So pair of deuces on the top board. And on the bottom board, we have 2 6s. And we have a 6 in our hand. So on the top board, we do have an overpair with jacks. And I believe we have a heart draw to go with it. And on the bottom board, we have 3 6s with an ace. And so this is a hand that I absolutely love. I mean, here I am. I've got an overpair with hearts on top. No one's shown any aggression. And then down below, I have a 6 with an ace. Oh, this guy check raises me? Oh, okay. Now that usually signifies that he has either 3s full of deuces or 9s full of deuces. And I'm like, all right, I'll call you because I don't think you're going to have that with a 6 with an ace kicker. I mean, you could, but if that happens, congratulations, sir. I'm going to pay you off. Now, here's what the river comes on the top board. Double gin. It's a jack of diamonds. So now I have jacks full. So if he has got 3s full or 9s full, which is a good check-raising hand, now I have jacks full. For some reason, his spidey senses goes off, and he checks, and I bet pot, and he calls. And then I show him, and he had 9s full. I was like, I've got jacks full, and I have ace 6. How that guy checks in that position, very, very cautious, man, but he ended up saving a bunch of money because there was like $860 or something in the pot, or $680 in the pot. But yeah, absolute cooler to him. Sometimes you get lucky when that happens, but yeah, his spidey senses went off when that jack came. Maybe I moved in my chair or sneezed. I can't remember. I don't think I did, but yeah, we end up scooping still a nice big pot for us. All right, so this is the last of the double board bomb pots. We must be 8-handed here because it's $80. So we are going to the turn. We have got king, king, 6, 7 with diamonds here. And on one board, it looks like there's a king on the board, which there is. And on the other board, it looks like 3, 5, 9 is out there. So I think we have a gutter ball there. And this guy bets $400. Whew. All right, he's definitely nutted on one of those boards. So what is he nutted on is what you have to ask yourself when you're playing these double board bomb pots. If somebody bets pot like that, you got to be like, what is your made hand and what's your drawing hand? So I go in the tank for a minute, and I figured, you know, I have a made hand. Does he really have a set of aces? You know what, sir? I'll pay you off if you do. So I go ahead and call, and I can actually scoop this. I'm thinking, pair the top, pair the top. It does not pair the top. Ooh, but the river on this one puts a 4 out there. So I have the stone cold nuts on the bottom board. On the top board, we did not hit our diamonds. And I think there's a straight out there now. So then this guy goes all in. He's got about $600. You know, I definitely am double checking my hand. I'm like, okay, I just want to make sure I have the nuts on the bottom. So I'm like, yeah, I call. Because I'm definitely at least getting half. He shows. I'm like, yeah, plus I've got kings to go with it. And he missed. What? You missed? Whoa, you missed. So my kings are good up top. Oh, he missed. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. We win this one. We scoop. This is a scooper. Scoopers are good. Scoopers win you a bunch. And we were 3-handed, so maybe I don't scoop. But anytime you win half of a pot when there's 3 people in it, you're definitely going to be positive EV. Oh, wow, look at all those green chips in there. Wow, this was a pretty big pot. Again, I don't have the graphics up here, but it looks like it was a $2,000, $2,500 pot. Ooh, yeah. And then he's got all the blacks to split up. If you are doing double board PLO bomb pots, it's good to have a really fast dealer. Don't forget to tip your dealers, everybody. All right, this is a single board here on PLO. We have 7, 7, 10 king with the king 7 of clubs. The flop is deuce 8, 9 with clubs. No, not with clubs, but there is one club out there. And I check it, and literally one of the tightest guys on the table to my left decides to bet pot. And one person calls, 2 other people call. Well, you know, we've got an open ender. We do have pocket 7s just in case we hit that. So we go ahead and call. And so we're going 3 ways to the turn. And the turn is kind of a good one for us. It's the 5 of clubs. So now I have a club draw. I'm still open-ended. But more importantly, I have pocket sevens, so I have blockers. So this is when I use my blocker bet principle. I bet $540 right away. I'm like, I got 2 sevens here, and even if somebody does have the nuts, like if somebody else has 6-7 and they pot it into me, I mean, I still have a club draw. I can still hit with a 6. I can still hit with a jack. I might have the right odds to call. It would take me a minute or two to figure that out, but I pot it, and I'm like in the tank because the tightest guy folded and the guy behind him folded, and I'm like, I got blockers. And I just wanted to show it to him because he was a really good player, very tight at the table, the guy to my left. But when he might have folded a little too often and maybe he shouldn't have. But at the end of the night, he started applying pressure in the double board bomb pots, especially when he had position. And either he had really good cards or he was doing a little bit of bluffing. But he certainly bet a lot more. And I was impressed. Very good. Now, this is a hand that happened twice this week. Once was here at this location. Once was the next day when I woke up and I drove home. Somewhere in between Chicago and my house, this same situation happened, even for a much larger pot. But in any case, which ended up being good. So I have ace, deuce, 3, 8. I do have a suited ace. And a couple people call, and the other guy who won that free roll $3,700 pot off of me raises it. So he's got like 6,000 in front of him. I've got like 5,000 in front of me. I'm like, yeah, I'm calling. I have a suited ace because with a suited ace, you can always flop the nuts. You're always at least drawing to the nuts. And I don't like my kickers. Trust me, I am not happy about my kickers. Ace, deuce, 3, 8. Not very. I'm literally playing this hand just to hit a flush. Unless I hit like, I don't know, ace, 8 or something like that, or, you know, you guys get the general gist. But, so, yeah, well, the flop the flop is ace, king. Ooh, this is cheeky. Ace, king. So I have 3 of a kind, and I am drawing to a full house. So I don't beat kings full, but I do beat a lot of other aces that I can catch up to. I do definitely lose to ace, king, and I'm drawing stone cold dead. But when that player who raised pre-flop bets on the flop, I know he's a pretty tight guy, and we both have a lot of chips, but he did like a value bet. He bet like, I think it was like $100 or $80, but I'm definitely raising here. Now, I'm raising for a couple different reasons. 1, to build a pot. 2, I may get $280. 2, because I want to find out if he's got ace, king, because ace, king right here is going to repop it. Or might call and then it goes check on the turn, and then I only have 1 bet to face on the river. Or if he's got pocket kings, he's just going to call, and if I miss the turn, it can go check to see if I can get there on the river. So I'm doing this for a couple reasons. Keep in mind, I'm in position. Position's really important in Omaha. So I'm planning on, like, if a jack or a 10 comes on the turn, he checks, I check. Hopefully we catch on the river. I'm planning if I hit the turn, I'm probably going to bet, but I'm not going to bet too much because I don't want to get check raised. So this guy ends up calling, and I'm like, okay, either I hit it or I miss, and it goes check. Oh my God, the turn's an 8. Literally the best card I could see, because now half the deck is under 8. Actually, probably a little bit more than half the deck at this point. So now I'm betting for value. I'm actually betting $350 here. I'm doing it for value, and I'm doing it because we're so deep. If he does check pot it, I can actually fold. Now, if you're in this situation and this happens to you and you have pocket kings, the proper play if you're deep is to actually check pot it because you're blocking both of the kings, so there's only 1 king left in the deck that the other player can have. Now, what happened is the player did act all distraught and everything. I didn't know if he was doing it as an act with ace king or if he had pocket kings. So I actually said, I don't know if you're doing that as an act, because I've ran into a lot of situations where inexperienced players will purposefully try looking uncomfortable with the stone cold nuts and then check raising you. And I was like, I don't want to bet $700 and then get check raised to like 4,000 because I have to fold. So I show him ace 8. He has a few choice words for me. But, you know, overall, I mean, the dude beat me out of a $3,700 pot on a free roll, and the guy's leaving with still like $5,000 in his chip stack. So he had a really good night. He's just sour about the last hand, but yeah, I could have bet for value on the river here. I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment. Do you think you should bet for value? If so, how much? And then what do you do if you get checked raised? I want to know what you guys think. Let me know. Leave me a comment. Thank you very much, everybody. Play smart and run like a god.
So it's like 1:30 in the morning. Last time you guys saw me, I was talking about playing today and did pretty well at Rivers. I'm actually going to head back to Rivers, which means I'm going to have a really long session because I started at 8:30 in the morning. But in for 4,000 today altogether. The round of double board PLO bomb pots, which you guys will see in the vlog, there's just a ton of double board PLO bomb pots, and then a round of PLO or a round of Hold'em was pretty lucrative today. I ended up losing a $3,700 pot where I had the nuts on one board and a really good hand on the other. And the guy was free rolling me and hit. So that happens. You can never get upset with people when that happens. Like you might be upset with the result or the outcome, but you can't really be upset with the play, because if I was in his shoes, I would have done the exact same thing. But overall, yeah, in for 4,000 on this session, out for 7,500. So we actually end up plus 3,500 for the day. I was up 1,500 on the morning session, so I guess for the whole day I'm up like $5,000, which is not too shabby. So right now for the whole trip I'm up just shy of 3,000 after all the expenses, which isn't too bad for 3 days worth of work. But my work is not done yet. I'm going to go to Rivers and see if I can get some either 1-2-5 PLO in or maybe some 5-5 PLO, but I definitely don't feel like going to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning, even after having a substantial win that I did. And so hopefully we'll continue playing good. Rockford Charity Group, man, it's got some really good action. You do see some of the same players there, but that's okay. Again, you don't have really any weights. I'd like to see them get 2 PLO tables here, maybe even 3. And tonight, with as much action as we had, we did have a little bit of a wait for some players, but we were playing 2-5 no limit Hold'em and then a round of $10 PLO double board bomb pots, and we had like one guy on the table where it seemed like it was his first time playing PLO. We had kind of explained to him you had to use 2 cards. We had another guy at the table who was pretty obvious he wasn't comfortable with PLO. He was way more comfortable with Hold'em. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the nice things that you get here, is some people who don't mind branching out and reaching out. So hopefully for the meetup game, we'll end up having, especially since it's going to be a 1-2-5 with $500 max buy-in, hopefully we'll get some Hold'em players that will come over and play and take a few shots. So, and we had that as well towards the end of the night. So, but yeah, I'm kind of tired, but I'm going to go over there for probably at least 2 hours or so and just see if I can put in a little session. So play smart, everybody. Run like a god. So I ended up going to Rivers at basically 2 in the morning. It's now 6:30. Anytime I go on poker trips, I do super long hours. Ended up winning 700 here. So had a $1,500 positive day, then a $3,500 positive day, and then a $700 positive day. And so yeah, for the day, up about 5,700. Feels good. After being on, quite frankly, a long losing streak, it feels good. Feels good to have a decent win. So for the whole trip, I think I'm up 4,700 for the trip. Maybe after expenses, like 4,500. I have to figure that out. But yeah, definitely feels good. 7 o'clock in the morning. As a poker player, as a grinder, some people think the life of a poker player is glamorous. Sometimes it can be, but a lot of times it's a lot of hard work. I mean, when you think about it, I started playing yesterday at basically 8:30 in the morning, and it's 6:30, 6:40 right now. Almost 24 hours of solid work, but played really good. Had some hands hold up.
Played both at Rivers, Rockford Charity Group, then back at Rivers. And you know what? The 125 at Rivers was pretty juicy. I played the 5-5 as well. But I don't know. There's just something about that Rockford Charity Group that just, I don't know. It feels real good. It feels like a home game versus that being at a casino. And I think that's kind of nice, in my opinion. So, in any case, everybody, play smart, run like a god.